Hello. Hi, everybody. Hello, chat. It is good to be here. Believe me, it's very good to be here. And because I don't like to speak in ambiguities and bullshit, I will tell you why it is so good to be here. I know I'm a few days late. I apologize. It is good to see everybody. It is good to see my computer, or Negz's computer, actually. I missed you too, No Name. Can we all please acknowledge in chat that No Name is not a fucking racist? Can we please do that? I think that that would be really, really cool. Let's all show No Name a lot of love and a lot of support. No Name is suffering from the D. Higgins phenomenon, which is whenever you're a very generous donor in anybody's chat, people are going to take notice of you. They're going to get angry. They're going to tell lies about you. They're going to try and come up with horseshit stories about you so that you watch what you do, watch what you say. It's all very Gestapo-like. It's all very North Korea-like. So I am in a fucking mood today. And pretty soon you'll all understand why I'm in a mood, and you'll also understand why this stream is several days late. Okay? All right. So over the weekend, I was driving down a country road here in Connersville, and one of the really fucking annoying things that happens on country roads here and elsewhere, as I've come to find out because I posted about what happened to me on Facebook, and friends of mine who live in the country, whether it's in the country in the US or the country in the UK, said that what happened to me is a fairly normal occurrence. So I'm driving up a country road, and there's a guy coming in the opposite direction. And he was basically driving down the middle of the road. And the guy was driving in a much larger vehicle than I was. And the road was plenty wide enough for both of us to navigate. And the guy would not fucking move. And he was getting closer and closer and closer. And I'm in my little shitty 2009 Hyundai that I've been driving since 2009. That is the worst for wear because it's been hit a million times. I've had a lot of problems with it, you know, just not in terms of like the way it runs, because Hyundais are amazing, but just it's been hit a few times. All right. And the guy would not move, so I had to swerve to avoid colliding with him head on. And I drove off the road and I hit a pole. And I totaled my car. I ended up with a giant wound in my forehead. My head hit the steering wheel. The airbag deployed. My ankle is fractured in 6 different places. I have at least 1 fractured rib, if not more. The x-ray could only pick up 1, but I may have more than 1 fractured rib. So those of you who have been out there praying for me to die in a terrible, violent way, or for my cancer to return, well, you almost got your wish. But luckily, I am not playing the harp, all right? I did not go beyond the pearly gates. 1 minute I'm driving down the road. I'm swerving to avoid getting into an accident. The next minute, the firefighters are pulling me out of the car. I'm rushed to the hospital. And I was in the hospital for a couple of days. And no, I am not going to show my medical records. You know why? Because I'm not asking for money, okay? I'm not going to post a GoFundMe. I'm not going to get online and be all melodramatic and show my scars and show this and that and the other thing. But I am a bit vain, so I decided until the stitches come out and the scar on my forehead heals, I'm just going to either be off camera or I'm going to cover my forehead with my bangs. I know I'm going to be accused of lying. I could give a fuck less, okay? And the only reason I'm telling this story is because I was prescribed. Thank you, No Name. Thank you, my love. I appreciate you. Thank you for your kindness. The only reason that I am discussing this now is because I was prescribed painkillers, and I thought, well, if I slur or if I sound a little off or whatever, I need to explain why I'm slurring and why I'm sounding a little off. But so far, so good. I am learning how to navigate the house on crutches. I was given a walker. That was a fucking disaster. So anyway, the point is that because I am not putting up a GoFundMe, I am not obligated to show you my medical records. I wouldn't be obligated anyway. Although if you are raising money for medical bills, then you probably should show proof that you're sick, right? That's how I would do it. But nope, we are just going to continue on. Anyway, so thank you, Detective Cochise. I really, really appreciate you. I think that that is really kind of you to offer. Thank you so much. But it's good to see you here. So yeah, there are people who are going to be, going out of their way to try and find a record of this, and they're going to be celebrating that I was injured quite seriously, because I was injured very seriously. Make no mistake. I mean, if I had hit that pole differently and if the car hadn't folded the way it did, I would not be here today. So I'm in an enormous amount of pain. I'm very grumpy about it. I have a whole series of complaints about medical treatment in the United States of America. But that would be oversharing. At least I'm alive. And I am glad to be here. So, I have been totally out of the loop on everything, okay? On everything. I have no idea what's going on. So I am going to conduct this stream. I am going to conduct this stream the way I would, like just giving a straightforward report, right? This content creator, Amir Odom, uploaded this video. And I thought it was really good. And thank you to the person who shared it with me, brought it to my attention. I had seen it in my timeline, but I hadn't watched it. I'd skipped over it because, as you know, as I've said before, I'm very, very tired of discussing this issue. I'm very, very tired of this issue. I'm looking forward to the day when I no longer have to discuss this matter because I'm sick of it. And I think that more and more people, the silent majority, have spoken. But it's that very loud minority that is hanging on to a faith-based system at the expense of women and kids. And I was having a conversation today with a friend, and I said that having lived through one satanic panic, one major one in this country, I know one when I see one. And when I saw the transgender issue taking off the way it did, largely over the internet, largely over social media, and I saw the impact that it was having on young people, I became extremely, extremely, extremely concerned. So this, to me, what has been happening for the past decade, is another satanic panic. And anybody who claims that the statistics on kids are exaggerated or that it's not a big deal, and there aren't that many kids getting surgery. First of all, I know exactly which sources you're consulting. You're wrong, okay? And I would like to know if you believe that, oh, only a few kids are getting drugged and mutilated and possibly sterilized for life, then how many kids need to go through this before, in order for this to be acceptable to you? You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, it's only like, let's say it was 1 or 2. When will you start to get concerned? 10, 20, 50, 100? When is too many too many? You know, like the NCAA president who was in front of Congress and said, oh, well, we have so few of these trans athletes. We have like 10 of them. Okay? So, in other words, it's worth it to you to sideline 10 female athletes for the benefit of these 10 male-bodied athletes. And if 10 isn't that many, then how many do there need to be before you step up and you get concerned? How many do there need to be before you say, all right, this is enough, and now we've got a problem? And the problem with the NCAA president is that he was not taking into account how many transgender athletes are competing at the high school and the junior high and even the elementary school level. Now, at the elementary school level, we can say, all right, we'll give it a pass, right? It's elementary school. It's prepubescent bodies competing against each other. I competed against boys in gym in elementary school, and it was no big deal. It really wasn't. Once puberty hits, and once you start getting into programs that are like feeder programs for the elite high school level, and you start getting into the area of scholarships and any sport involving strength and speed, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Then you run into a problem. Then the rights of these transgender athletes conflict with the rights of women and girls, period. And if there's one thing that many of us, sensible ones, you know, people who think clearly and aren't completely co-opted by ideology and, you know, a new secular religion, what many of us recognize is what it looks like when a bunch of men don't like hearing the word no. We know what that means, and we've seen it over and over and over again, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. So, I have dry mouth, sorry. These meds give me dry mouth. Hang on. So, let's go ahead and let's watch this video, because I thought that he did a good job, but I am, of course, going to I'm going to add my own commentary. And I would highly suggest that you subscribe to Amir Odom's channel. He is wonderful. He's very, very sensible. And I appreciate him. I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with all of his content. But I think that his voice is important. And so please do consider subscribing to him. His channel is linked in my description. Let's continue.
Biological women.
It's embarrassing. It's uncomfortable.
Well, what about women who have penises and men who have vaginas?
Trans women are occupying biological women's spaces, and these women have had enough. From sports to the gyms to the spa to the army, trans people are being barred left and right, and this is only on the rise. It's clear that there's a lot going on between trans women and biological women, and that's exactly what we're going to get into in today's video. If you like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe. The sports. Okay, so what you're seeing here is Donald Trump signed an executive order keeping men out of women's sports, which is so ironic to me that this man that they're always telling us that is super misogynistic and hates women, the list goes on, he's the one trying to protect biological women the most. And you know, on this channel, we call things for what they are, and it is primarily the left that is erasing biological women. They're erasing the term women as it is. Because the left is saying the term woman is all inclusive, it includes men and women, and people who are non-binary, it doesn't matter, anybody can be a woman, you render render that term woman useless. It means nothing anymore. This is a concept that we're going to keep coming back to, but if we're saying men can be women and women can be men, then that makes everything equal, and there's no differences between us. And it is so ironic that now all of a sudden in 2025, it's a far right or right-wing talking point to say that biological women deserve their own spaces and own sports. That's so crazy to me.
A 6'4" man was allowed in to undress, fully expose himself. He was fully naked, of course, fully intact.
This is my friend Riley Gaines. She's so sweet, so amazing. In this example, she's talking about her past teammate Leah Thomas. I'll put a picture of them here. Yeah, that was her teammate. And Leah would go into the locker room and just change and be swinging that thing, that elephant trunk all around the locker room in front of women. And why does it take a gay man to point out that that's wrong? And why is it that as a gay man, like, it's the LGBTQ community the one really defending for that to even happen in the first place? No, if anyone can acknowledge the difference between men and women, it's me, a gay man who obviously does not like women because they got some things and they got, pH balances and all types of crazy stuff that I'm just not fond of. That's just me. No shade. I love my women. I love my females, but I'm not getting into that for a reason.
And one of the things that's really bothered me as a lifelong advocate for and defender of the gay community is the way that the forced teaming has taken place under the name LGBTQ, LMNOP, whatever, right? What bothers me about it is that there is a deeply homophobic streak to many of these trans activists. And that the idea that we can declare ourselves to be a thing and then force ourselves socially, sexually, whatever other way, onto another group of people who are then expected to accept us and accept our advances without question, even though they know it does not correspond to their particular orientation. It's very, very homophobic. It is. And I have older gay friends who have been complaining about this for years. The language, the behavior, all of it. And the individuals who have felt this the most are members of the lesbian community. Gay men, not so much, although they've experienced it somewhat. But it's these aggressive, cross-dressing men, not RuPaul's Drag Race cross-dressing men, okay? Not professional drag queens, not people like that, but garden variety, heterosexual, cross-dressing, and autogynephilic men who have tried to pull this stunt in order to, I don't even know if the word seduce is the right word, in order to, I'll say it, to force themselves onto gay women. This is something that I've been talking about for years. I am not a Johnny-come-lately to this matter. And I'm not a gay woman. I'm not gay at all, okay? But it bothers me that I'm seeing this new wave of men who are trying to find a way to fulfill their sexual fantasies. One of them being turning lesbian straight, which is a recurring male fantasy, straight male fantasy. Or trying to use brute force to turn gay women straight. On my old channel, I did a video about this practice in South Africa. It's also done in India, corrective rape. I may do it again for this channel. But it's a very, very disturbing phenomenon. And this is what we're seeing again. We are seeing these heterosexual men forcing themselves into women's spaces, uninvited. I mean, I know that there's a certain group of co-opted women who have held the door open and allowed them in, but there are a lot of women who are standing up and saying enough is enough. There are a lot of parents who are standing up and saying enough is enough. I do not want my daughter subjected to this. I don't want my female relatives being put in danger because they go into a goddamn women's locker room, for God's sake. And a lot of these men, or most of these men, do not like hearing the word no, and they don't seem to understand what it means. So, anyway, I don't give a damn that Amir Odom just said what he said. He's a gay man. He's not interested in women. He doesn't have to explain himself as a gay man. There's no need for that. And we women should not have to explain why it is that we don't want intact males in our locker rooms, why we don't want intact males in our prisons, locked up behind bars with women, many of whom have not committed violent crimes. We don't want this. We don't want it, and we shouldn't have to accept it. And we don't want intact males cheating and getting on our sports teams, taking away our scholarships, taking away opportunities for us. I mean, I don't think that people realize that when a person wins a gold medal at the Olympics, it is a very big deal. It opens up a lot of doors financially, sponsorships, coaching opportunities, speaking opportunities, opportunities to open a business, to, coach other kids through it, or coach other kids in the sport, starting a chain of businesses. That is what a gold medal affords you. Having somebody steal that gold medal from you because they identify as a woman and therefore are allowed to compete as a woman is monstrous. It's a ripoff. It's cost women a lot of money. Let's not forget the money angle of sportsmanship and competition. Let's continue.
Reason, because we're different, okay? And that's totally fine, that's totally acceptable. Because I know that difference, I don't think it's okay for Leah Thomas to be up in his locker room swinging around, flaunting off in front of women.
From where we, as 18, 19, 20-year-old girls, were fully undressed. I can't even put into words just the feelings of violation, the feelings of it's humiliating, it's awkward, it's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable, but most importantly, like, I just remember feeling so betrayed. I felt so betrayed by my university, by the NCAA, by people who I believed had our best interests at heart. And without even a blink of an eye, they threw our rights to privacy as women entirely out of the window. And what we saw result from that was women who, rather than going into the locker room to undress, they found other outlets. I know there were several girls, several of my teammates even, who opted to change in the janitor's closet next to, like, dirty mops.
I feel like
it's ridiculous.
Should be able to call this behavior out and say, yeah, having biological women in a women's locker room changing in the janitor's closet because they feel uncomfortable that a trans woman is in there getting changed.
A man.
It gets to a point where we become so inclusive that we start to exclude. We become so inclusive to what the term woman means that we're excluding the term woman in general. Like, we've erased what woman means.
To being exposed to a naked man and exploited to a naked man. So when they talk about inclusivity, what that really is exclusivity, and what they're excluding is women out of women's locker room.
And that should not be accepted.
Never.
We shouldn't be excluding women out of the very thing that we created for them to have their own safe spaces. This picture of her, Riley Gaines, next to Leah Thomas on this podium, it's literally that South Park skit. Like, why is this even a thing? Even to today in 2025, here's another image of another trans athlete just dominating the podium looking like a whole dude. And none of this is transphobic, none of this is hateful, none of us, I feel like this shouldn't even be that divided of an issue. The real problem is that no one's being...
Transphobic has no meaning anymore. None. I heard two of my biggest critics on this matter chatting very amiably with one another and agreeing that, well, I wouldn't put my kid through it. I wouldn't let my kid have that kind of a surgery or any kind of a surgery before 18. I wouldn't permit it. Okay, well, that has been one of my chief complaints. And then they're like, well, but I don't care what happens to somebody else's kids. Well, I do. All right. I fucking do. And I do for a number of reasons, not only because it is widespread medical malpractice, not only because we see changes in the law around the country where a child can be removed from the home of a parent by CPS because the parent refuses to accept the kid's imagined gender or the gender that they insist they are, or because the parent doesn't want to let the kid go through a very dangerous, very risky operation or go on very dangerous drugs. I care about that. And when it comes to the surgeries are not that uncommon. They're really not. And if those surgeries are covered by health insurance, then we all pay for that shit. In, raised insurance costs for all of us, our premiums go up. And these surgeries, it's amazing to me how they are not written off as cosmetic. When there are women or others who need surgery that is dismissed as cosmetic and not paid for by these companies. And yet it is way too easy for young people to find these medical practitioners who have absolutely no problem. And in fact, medical practitioners who have built practices on operating on young, confused kids, primarily girls. Primarily girls. I take exception to all this. I do. So what the fuck are you calling me a transphobe for? We agree. We agree. It's not ethical. It's not a good look. Kids under the age of 18 should not be given the authority, let's say, or the permission to make a life-altering decision of this nature. Wait until you're 18. But like I said, transphobe, it's like the word racist, has no meaning anymore. Too many people have accused too many other people of being that thing, and now it is meaningless. But again, if you want to call me a transphobe for standing up for women and girls and gay men and gay young men, be my guest. Matters not one whit to me.
Vocal and no one's calling it out for what it is and just saying, hey, this is wrong. Because you can say something's wrong without being hateful. You can just call something out and it's fine. I don't hate trans people. I have no ill will towards them. But what I do hate is people taking advantage of a system and making other people feel mad uncomfortable. And one thing that makes a lot of women uncomfortable is being around a bunch of biological men. It doesn't matter anymore if you're a trans woman or not. Just the mere fact that you're a biological man, it innately makes majority of women out there uncomfortable.
No, that's not correct. I don't feel uncomfortable around men. I absolutely do not. However, we need to recognize and acknowledge that the rights enshrined in Title IX were hard fought for. The right to have separate medical wings was hard fought for. The right to have separate bathrooms, locker rooms, and everything else, hard fought for. Hard fought for. And the fact that we're trying, or we're being asked to give it up without a fight is deeply offensive. It does a disservice to the activists, the real ones, who lay their lives on the line so many years ago in order to get these rights for biological women. And now we're just holding the door open and saying, oh, any man in a dress, any man in makeup can just waltz into the changing room, can waltz into wherever that was previously designated as a woman's space and do as they like. Sororities, all of it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No goddamn way. So, no, I'm not afraid of men. I just don't want men in an area that has been designated as exclusively female. I don't think that that's a lot to ask for.
It's just we've gotten to the point where so many people feel scared to say anything because then they get canceled or bigoted or hateful or get kicked out their sorority. So many different things can happen now. And I wish this wasn't the case. And I'm really advocate every viewer out there right now to be vocal with respect. Be nice, but be vocal about your beliefs and stand up for what you believe in. It is not hateful, it is not bigoted, it is not transphobic to just say, yes, biological women deserve their own spaces, biological women deserve their own sports. And it frustrates me, it's bittersweet. It makes me very happy to see some of the most prominent Democrats out there, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, even agree with me on this issue.
It's not fair. It's just for like a woman's entire women's sports.
I agree.
You know,
by the way, I agree with you. And it's interesting. I stress tested this, Charlie. I was wondering, I said, in California, and I've been a leader in the LGBTQ space, as you know, back in 2004, was marrying same-sex couples. And I know we have different opinion on marriage equality. And so I've been at this for years and years. I take a backseat to no one. But I was actually on the issue of sports, which in the last few years has just exploded. Trying to understand the 10 athletes in the NC2A, 510,000 athletes, but 10 athletes, and but how profound. And even my own friend cohort, people saying, the hell is going on? Why aren't you calling this out?
Why aren't you calling this out? I think it would be monumental, and I'm glad he's doing it now. It's bittersweet. Like, again, I'm happy that he's saying this. I'm happy that he's coming to terms of, yeah, this is just not okay. But
And I'm glad that Gavin Newsom mentioned marriage equality, because one of the terrible sort of side effects, let's say, of this controversy over the trans matter is that it has really impacted public perception of the gay community. Now, to a large extent, this is self-inflicted because all the gay rights organizations jumped on this and decided, again, to force team the TQI plus whatever with LGB, which has resulted in a huge step backwards for the gay community. So now you see these happily married, normal gay couples, and they're like, wait, what the fuck? Is my marriage in danger? Could it be dissolved? Could something happen? Because there is a bad perception of the gay community now. And that to me is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. The older gays warned everyone that this was going to happen. The older gays knew that accepting this self-ID trans wave into the gay community was a Trojan horse, and that it was going to impact the gay community. And it has. We've got a lot of people questioning marriage equality now. That kills me. I am a huge advocate of marriage equality, and I have been for decades. And I don't want to see the rights of gay people eroded because of a bunch of straight men in dresses and lipstick who are now forcing their way into women's spaces and forcing themselves into gay spaces. I don't want that to happen. Let's continue.
But at the same time, I wish he said this sooner. I wish instead of it being a Republican talking point, MAGA talking point, far-right talking point, bigoted, transphobic, it just is what it is. It's like, hey, actually, we can come to the consensus that yes, when it comes to trans people in sports, we need to look at this a little bit differently. Because now we've gotten to a point where, again, you've rendered the term woman useless, female useless. It's just whatever you want to be. You got people not even transitioning, just saying that they're a woman and then
Correct.
going and dominating women's sports. This is something that is actually happening, and it's not okay. When I saw this podcast, I was like, there's no way Gavin said that. Like, really? And it made me think, okay, the last few years, people have been rallying behind trans people in the LGBTQ community. Are they going to sweep this one under the rug? Are they just going to act like Gavin didn't say that? Or are they going to highlight this to try to, make Democrats seem more tame because of how bad they did lose this election and how many people are leaving the left? Are they treating this real? What is the left versus the right saying? Let's see for ourselves. We have
Okay, I don't know what Gavin Newsom is up to. I mean, I'm guessing, like any politician, he has read the polls and he realizes that this transgender athlete matter is a loser and that nobody signed up for it and that people do not want it. And in a nation that is deeply divided like the United States, one thing that a solid majority of people agree on is that allowing men to compete against women in women's sports is it's a non-starter. It is deeply unpopular. Nobody wants this. What would really make me respect Gavin Newsom is if he spoke out against male inmates being locked up in California female prisons with women. Then I would sit up and take notice. This one's easy. This one's a no-brainer, you know. But until he makes a firm statement about men locked up, male rapists in women's prisons, I'm just going to take this as, all right, so he's had a change of heart on this, whatever. I don't know why. I don't really particularly care why. I don't live in California. He's not my governor. But I'm gonna stay tuned.
Here, Gavin Newsom says transgender athletes in women's sports is deeply unfair. And let's actually take a look at this clip that was featured on CNN, because I think with this fair of a coverage, and it doesn't seem too many hit pieces, it seems pretty fair. Is the tide turning?
I think these numbers are really illuminating on this topic, because I just think there's such a clear trend among the American public. So transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports. Compare this to the opposition. I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything. But they do, in fact, agree on the idea of opposing transgender female athletes in women's sports. But it's not just the here and now, Laura. It's not just the here and now. What we're actually seeing is a trend on this particular issue, and it's going in the direction of opposition. So take a look here. Okay, transgendered female athletes, and amongst those Americans who oppose them in women's sports.
No, they're not transgender female athletes. Transgender athletes are men. They are not female. Okay, let's just cut that out of the lexicon. Let's do that. Unless you're talking about transgender men competing against other men, which is a rare phenomenon. I've yet to see it, by the way. I hear it happens, but I haven't seen it. Transgender female athletes are not a thing. CNN, stop it, okay? Just clean up your language. Enough.
In 2021, it was 62%. A majority, but, you know, not anywhere close to a ginormous majority, right? A clear majority, but not a ginormous majority. But then again, you look here in 2025, you see it at 79%.
It's rising. There are more and more people coming to terms with the reality of the situation that is, there is a difference between men and women in sports. The tides are shifting, and I'm very glad that we have tools that exist, like Ground News, that helps us clearly see in the media landscape.
You know, I've noticed that a lot of these right-wing,
what is the center saying? What is the right saying?
Commenters
access to all the great tools that I've been showing
shilling for this Ground News.
Get involved. The gyms.
Okay, here we go.
Operating as a single-sex space for biological women.
The fitness influencer has doubled down on her decision to ban trans women.
When I've seen this rise and this craze of like, we need a women's only gym so we're not around men and creepy men, we need a women's only space, this was bound to happen. Any kind of controversy regarding a women's only space is bound to happen because trans women are women, what you keep telling us, and boom, now the spaces are infiltrated. But let's see what happened with this gym, because there's been a lot of controversy around it.
From her women-only gym. The influencer known as Natalie B Fitness announced plans to open the girls' spot in London back in 2021 with a mission to tackle gym harassment, intimidation, and sexual harassment that women face. She created a GoFundMe to crowdfund for the space, amassing over £20,000 in donations. At the time, when asked about trans women accessing the gym, Natalie was quick to respond.
Of course, trans women are welcome at my women's only gym. I don't see trans women as trans women. I see trans women as women.
That's where she messed up. She ended up saying like no trans allowed, which you shouldn't have said that in the beginning if you felt this way. I get.
Right, but in 2021, it was very risky and very dangerous, may I add, to say that you do not believe that trans women are women, particularly in the United Kingdom, where you can get arrested for basically anything except for being part of a grooming gang that exploits children. I don't know if I mentioned it in my last stream, but I have a British viewer who comes in periodically and wants me to discuss matters having to do with Great Britain. And I'm going to do that in my next stream because I found 2 cases that were absolutely unbelievable. But one of them involved some parents who were on, I believe they were on WhatsApp, discussing problems at their daughter's school. 6 police officers came to arrest them. 6. There was no evidence that they were violent. There was no evidence that they were threatening anyone at the school. There was no evidence that they were dangerous. They were just parents bitching with other parents about something having to do with the school. 6 cops. And what kills me about this is that Axel Rudicabana, the guy who went on a stabbing spree in Southport and killed those 3 little girls at that Taylor Swift dance class and injured 10 other people. This is a guy who had been expelled from school. This is a guy who had been sent to the Prevent program repeatedly. This is a guy who was clearly imbalanced and dangerous. Even his parents knew that he was a risk to the public. They knew that he was a risk to the public. That guy did not have 6 police officers pulling up to his house. That guy didn't have anybody, it seems, supervising him, even though he had been labeled as a risk to the community. That guy was free to meander about until he finally ordered some knives off of Amazon and went into that dance class and stabbed those little girls. But these 2 parents who were just complaining about their kids' school ended up getting arrested. They were held for 12 hours, and then they had to be released because of lack of evidence. There was never any evidence to arrest them at all. These arrests in the United Kingdom are getting bolder. They're getting more egregious. They're getting more ridiculous. There is no freedom of speech in the United Kingdom. There hasn't been in a long time. You can't even complain in private with a group of parents in a WhatsApp group without fearing that the police are going to knock at your door. So this lady saying, oh yeah, I believe trans women are women. Who knows? She was probably, captured at that time. She's changed her mind. Good for her. But let's continue.
Get it? You want to start a women's only gym? That's your prerogative. That's fine. But I think this is the one misstep that you did have, is saying, I'm going to include trans women, and then all of a sudden, I guess you're not. That's the backlash. If you started off with, hey, this is a biological women's only space, I don't think you'd be seeing the backlash that we're seeing now for this gym owner.
If you identify as a woman, then you're, of course, welcome.
She reinforced her stance with a tweet stating, trans women are women and also a minority that need to be protected. However, Natalie recently made a U-turn on her decision to be trans inclusive. In a video posted to X on Sunday, March 9th, she said,
My women's only gym will be operating as a single-sex space for biological women. We are focusing on self-defense classes as well as workshops and activations around PCOS and training on your menstrual cycle,
Exactly.
all of which occur to biological women.
This statement caused a wave of online backlash.
Hey, again, I think that's fine if you want to have a women's only space and that you're the owner, you want to switch to just having biological women, that's fine. But again, you probably shouldn't have led off with, hey, I am going to include trans women. You shouldn't have done that, but at the end of the day, it is her business. She's allowed to do whatever she wants to do with her company.
And some even asked for refunds from the funds donated. Hearing the noise, Natalie came back explaining her reasons.
The decision was based on the simple fact that I have been sexually assaulted inside of a gym. So many of the women that are coming to my women's only gym is because they have also been sexually assaulted or sexually harassed or faced gym intimidation. Whilst I understand the anger around backtracking, the reason why it is female only is so incredibly important. I want so many girls girls and women to feel so safe.
And I think that's, again, that is fine. You want women to feel safe. You want them to have an environment that is biologically only for them. Go for it. And it's unfortunate that there are so many bad actors out there. There are so many trans women out there that are gaining the system, taking advantage of things, and still to this day using that as an opportunity to harass women.
Well, we're kind of used to it by now. I find it very interesting. This example is fascinating to me because it really demonstrates how much the progressive stack has shifted. So now, remember when we were harangued 5 years ago? A black woman is speaking. Listen to black women. Well, I see a black woman speaking right here. I see a black woman trying to open a business. And guess who has the advantage over her? Men of all different races. So now all of a sudden, we're not supposed to listen to what a black woman is saying. And personally, I don't give a damn about her race. I just think that she is a woman who was trying to do the right thing and trying to open up a business on her own terms. But she has crossed the wrong group of people. So now, sorry to tell you this, but it doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter where you think you are in the progressive hierarchy. The transgender self-ID people have totally undermined you. I think that sucks. I do. I want this woman's gym to open and I want it to succeed. But remember, and she's not J.K. Rowling. I mean, J.K. Rowling made huge waves when she said that she was going to open up an all-female rape crisis center in Edinburgh, I believe. And, you know, people came out and they were screaming and yelling about it. And she's like, fuck you. I've got my money. I'm going to use my funds to open this place. You don't like it? Go screw yourself, you know? But this woman is not J.K. Rowling. She doesn't have J.K. Rowling's money. She can't afford the security that J.K. Rowling can afford. And so I am 1,000,000% behind this lady and her goal of opening up a business on her terms. On her terms.
Not all trans people harass women, I get it. But we have seen a rise with certain instances of trans women taking advantage of the system, becoming trans just to harm biological women, whether that be in jails, in restrooms, in spas. The list goes on. People are actually going to jail for this. But with all this backlash, let's see what other people have to say.
Many thoughts on this women-only gym, other than how the are you going to be able to prove that someone is a biological woman when they try to come into your gym?
We could tell.
How?
Yeah, we can tell.
For one, for the most part, you can tell. You can definitely tell with that person. But two, your ID when you sign up, which I personally think all IDs, all passports should have your actual sex listed.
How are we going to try to prove it? Are you going to have them drop their pants in front of you? Like, what is it? And to exclude a group of women who absolutely face danger, violence, just out in the streets alone, just like any other woman does, is crazy to me.
Everybody goes through violence. At some point, somehow, some way, every group can be faced with violence, but that doesn't give you the right to intrude on other group spaces, especially one that is so uniquely, like biologically, chemistry, like life, uniquely different to them. Men and women are different. I'm not talking about like there's some black only space or white only space. No, that's stupid. But if you want to have a men's only space and a women's only space, totally fine, because these are characteristics that actually make a difference in our livelihoods. And just because you want to transition into that and you want to become that doesn't mean you ever will be. So sorry, but that's the truth.
Excluding them simply because they are not biological women, crazy. All this is doing is just perpetuating the same rhetoric that cis white men are using, because what are you going to do when you have a more masculine presenting woman come into the door?
Me.
You are perpetuating white supremacy this way, and the ideals of femininity are stemmed and rooted in white supremacy.
Not white supremacy. You must be fucking joking. Dude, anybody, thank you. No Name, you are so generous. You are so kind. Thank you so much for all of you who are here, genuinely enjoying the channel. Or for those of you who are here lurking. Enjoy your memberships. Thank you, No Name. You are very, very kind. I really, really appreciate you. Just keep it pushing, girl. That's all I can say to you. What the fuck does white supremacy have to do with not wanting men in a woman's space? Absolutely nothing. It's the same bullshit jargon. Absolutely nothing. Dude, we can look at you and see you're a man. All right? Those claws that you have glued to your fingertips do not make you any more passing than any other man in your situation. All right? And why is it that these men are so insistent on being in women's spaces? I mean, there are a lot of answers to that question. A lot of answers to that question. But, and some of them are very dark answers to that question. But it is remarkable to me, you have to bring in jargon from a totally separate issue in order to justify your position on this matter. We just don't want men around in our changing rooms. That's all. Okay? Just leave all the other horse shit out of it.
First off, I'm so tired. Bringing up racist, white supremacists, this and that. What does you have a fully intact, hoo-ha, hello, elephant trunk, or you know, chopped off have to do with women's only spaces? I get it. You bring up a good argument of, like, you know, masculine presenting women. They have an ID. They can just show that they're a woman and be left alone. And if you don't, then you gotta go.
And if you can't see that, I don't know how the you're allowed to open a business like that. So
first and foremost, I will speak on this because this person is saying that, you know, how are masculine women going to feel? And if they're masculine presenting, I'm masculine presenting. I'm a masculine woman. I have tattoos.
You're not, though, but that's okay.
Don't mind all this because I'm in my gaming room right now. But usually when I go to the gym, I dress like a boy. I like to dress very comfortable because I'm hitting legs or, you know, doing a workout. I don't need people looking at me. That's my personal thing. But trust me, by looking at me, you can still tell I'm a woman. I just have obviously still facial features of a woman. I have a raspy voice and I'm just big body like NEGZNN. I have big hands. I'm 5'8", 5'9". Now, when we look at you, we can tell you are not a woman. Why?
Of course. Yep.
And then also the hands.
Yep.
You can tell when a woman has big, elongated hands, but they still look feminine. You have male hands and you still look like a dude. I did not vote for Trump, okay? Before I get into what I'm going to say, I did not vote for Trump. I don't want to hear it.
I love how she stated that. I love how she's stating, I don't care who she voted for, but I love how she's breaking that stereotype that, hey, not all people who think men and women should have different spaces are some Trumpers. Like, no, she's saying she's not a Trumper, but she can identify and say, hey, we're separate.
If it says woman only gym, that's woman only gym. I don't understand why you need to go in a woman's only gym. Keep going to the same gym you're going to. It's not hurting you, go there. I'm not understanding why a lot of people like this person want to force themselves into spaces they're not welcomed. One thing about me is I will never go somewhere I'm not wanted, or obviously I'm not supposed to be in, because I wouldn't say you're not wanted there, because me personally, I have no problem with, you know, men dressing up like girls. It's not my business. You know, if you want to dress up and put makeup and nails and stuff and say you're Sally, by all means do that. I'll call you your name Sally because I'm a respectful person. But at the end of the day, there's a gym made for women who bleed sangre, that are from our kitty meow meow, our natural kitty meow meow, and women that want to feel safe and secure at the gym and not get stared and gawked at by men.
I think this is a great example of someone being respectful and speaking up. Let your voice be heard. Let it be known that what you're saying you don't agree with. If you're watching this and you don't even like Trump like that, you're not even on the right, you're more like politically center right, center left, it doesn't matter. Just be vocal in your beliefs. And if you think that it is okay for biological women to have their own gym in their own space, that should be fine.
Why is being honest controversial?
Right.
Why is having an adult conversation all of a sudden, like, I have no hate in my heart. I don't have, God bless
Jen,
this person.
congrats.
I pray they get everything in line.
6 months, thank
safe
you.
and secure, but let's call it what it is. If it's an all women's gym and you are born a woman, you can go to the gym. Well, I wouldn't get mad right now if somebody said, oh, you know what? We're having a Latin club night. Only Mexicans, pure Mexicans, I'm gonna get mad. I'm Mexican and black. How can I get mad when that was the rule? The girls at Hooters, what are the rules? Have big yitties to get in there. You're not gonna go there being itty bitty titty committee and get mad that you're not welcome there.
Or a man.
Right?
The race stuff, I think it's a little bit different, but to say, yeah, I want a biological women's only space because we are different and we have shared experiences and down to like how our body, like how they act, whether you black, white, brown, doesn't matter. You're all
Yeah, and having like a Mexican only Latin night. Why would you leave out the Cubans, the Dominicans, the Guatemalans, the El Salvadorans? Why would you leave all those people out? You're missing a hell of a party if you're not going to include those people. Or people from Latin America. It makes no sense. Brazil? Are you kidding? No offense against Mexicans. I know you guys know how to have a great time. But yeah, I mean, that would just be stupid. I don't get that. But let's continue.
Still a woman, you want to have that space, go for it. And calling out the truth shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be, like she said, I don't understand why we aren't having these adult conversations anymore.
I'll tell you something I've been furious about. If you followed my saga about my gym, I was minding my own business, leaving my gym changing room the other day. I was quite surprised, to put it mildly, to see a man in there. And I clarified the policy with Virgin Active. They surprised me, ladies and gents, by telling me that in the female changing room, children were allowed, transgender females of all ages, and non-binary members.
Literally, what does...
So literally everybody's allowed in the changing room. The women's changing room, of course, not the men's, but the women's changing room. And again, here we go with the transgender female. No, clean up your language.
What does that mean? If you're saying women are allowed, trans women are allowed, and non-binary people are allowed in this women's locker room, what is the point of having separate locker rooms? You see what I mean? Referring to that last video talking about just like having honest conversations and just telling the truth for what it is. I want everybody to think about this. What does it mean to have a women's locker room if we are striving and fighting for trans women and non-binary people to be included in a women's locker room?
Nothing.
Again, renders the term woman useless. There's no point of a woman. There's no point. It doesn't exist. If we've all lived this entire life saying, yes, a woman is someone with a vagina, and now in 2025, you're saying, well, actually, trans women are women, trans women can be women, and then non-binary people can like also identify as women too. And then we also know anybody can be trans. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to wear a wig. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to change anything. And I can just say I'm trans, or I can say I'm non-binary and I'll identify as a woman or a man, which lets me do anything I want to do.
Correct.
What's the point of a woman's only space? You
Exactly.
get what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
I don't understand why this is some big debate. I don't understand why this is some so huge controversy, but this is why more and more biological women are speaking up and saying, hey, you know what? I've had enough. I thought I was a feminist. I thought I was fighting for our rights, but all of a sudden I'm a bigot now because I want my own women's space. I'm so glad I'm here with y'all because y'all make me feel less alone, and the comments do. And we all this big community that just says, hey, we're here for common sense. We're not hateful. We're not bigoted. We're just trying to get a grip on this world and really try to understand what is going on in, at least I would say, a nice and respectful manner.
Hey, I mean, I don't know who needs to hear this. Actually, I take that back. I literally just lied to y'all. I know exactly who needs to hear this. But just as a never friendly, especially from me, reminder, if you're transphobic in 2025, you're a loser. I don't know how else to say that. You're a loser and your ass stinks. Like, that's just, it's a scientific fact. You have poop in your pants right now. I bet when you leave interactions, people talk about how much your stinks. God, how embarrassing. Did you know that? Did you know that people are talking shit on you because you're so awful?
This person has 8 million followers on TikTok. It's
what the
so
fuck?
Ironic that this is a liberal, famous liberal being divisive, being hateful, being bigoted. I get called that. Some of you get called that. The more right. Anybody who has an inkling of just saying, hey, I think it's totally fine to have biological women's only space. Boom. Hateful, bigoted. The list goes on.
Yep.
This is why you're losing people. This is why you're losing votes. This is why more and more people are not resonating with the things that you're saying. And it's slowly retreating back of like, it's kind of disappointing, you know? It's like, what is the point of being this divisive? Why can't we just look at things with nuance? Why can't we just approach these topics without being so hot and heavy and just think, hey, let's listen to a couple of different perspectives on this. Let's see different viewpoints, because it's clear not all women feel that way. You want to talk about listening to women, then listen to them. Don't only listen to the women that agree with you, listen to all women, which is much different than believe all women. Hello, let's make that difference here. But let's at least listen to them and understand where they're coming from. The spas.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. Anybody who wants to make it on TikTok sharing political opinions. Nobody wants to listen to a centrist or somebody reasonable on TikTok, right? People go to TikTok for the shit show. TikTok is a mess. TikTok pumps up extremely divisive views. And that's how TikTok operates. You have to be that out and crazy and exclusive in your thought process to make it on TikTok as a political commentator. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, you have to gin up controversy in order to get attention. The end. That's why I'm not on TikTok. I think political commentary online these days is just garbage. It sucks on all sides. I can't take anybody seriously, or very few people seriously. And that's just how that goes.
We go based female and male going to a part. So if you have the female part, you go to the female side. If you have the male part, you go to the male part.
I'm not sure what you're meaning
So
by
as in like physical parts, as in like your genitals.
Yes.
If you have the woman genital still, you go to the woman's side. And if you have the male genital, a penis, you go to the male side.
Well, what about women who have penises and men who have vaginas?
They don't exist.
You go to that side.
Segregate them.
We still go based on genital parts.
So you would put a man in the women's room?
So they have the parts, yes.
That's not a man, though, necessarily.
Yes, it is.
We just go based off genitals. So you're assigned with if the male has the genital part.
If you put a man in the women's room, you're going to have huge problems. You can't do that.
But that's what we're doing now, though.
Male, they feel totally, if they still have, we're going to talk how it is, if they still have their vagina, they go on the female side, they feel totally comfortable. Because we go based on what they have, the genital.
Yeah, but you have, I mean, if somebody is a man, they need to go in the men's room. Just full stop.
If they don't have genital parts, we cannot let them go in.
You can't say that somebody's not a man based on what their parts are. If
yes,
they're
you can.
And what they have said they are a man, you can't say that they're not allowed to go.
It's videos like this that really make me homophobic. That actually do make me transphobic. And these are the things that I'm trying not to be. I don't want to be. I have gay friends. Hello, I am gay. I have trans friends. I get it. But it's people like this that drive me up a wall. That are this demanding, this disrespectful, and this just stupid.
And detached from reality.
There's no nuance with this. It's stupid. We can't sit here and argue with staff and really push and fight and say, yes, well, there are women who have penises and men who have vaginas. There are trans people that identify as those things and they exist, but that isn't reality. That isn't what's going on at hand. So we can't say that. And it's these people that call, I'm going to say the OG feminist TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists. If you ever hear or see that slang, that term TERF, what that is saying, like they would say, I'm a TERF, basically. They would say anybody's a TERF that says there's a difference between biological women and trans women. The crowd that says trans women aren't women, or we actually do need to have like a biological women's only space, all the people that want that would be called a TERF. And it's crazy because like you say trans exclusionary radical feminist, but let's see who's actually radical.
Hey everybody, Trans Fistful, Breath Moray. We came down to Imperial Spa, did some artwork on the ground, met a whole bunch of good people, put things together. Hopefully a lot of these are going to come out to Banya and support us out there. We've got plenty of support. City's activated.
And what's ironic.
And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw a previous live stream that I did about this very issue. It was this exact spa. This was the spa where one of the protesters that showed up and was interviewed for the nightly news was an actual sex offender. This is a person who was a rapist and was interviewed like it was no big deal. Obviously, nobody did background research into who this person was. Nobody looked him up. It's actually quite easy to find him online. And he was, he's on the sex offender registry. And he showed up at this thing demanding all kinds of demands about being put in a woman's space. And he was told no, because he's a man. Absolutely not. But yeah, that's something that very few people are going to tell you, except for certain commentators on YouTube. But this is what we've normalized now. We've normalized the fact that a man can be on the sex offender registry. He can change his name. He can change his gender on his identifying documents. And it's supposed to clean the slate. Absolutely not. No, I don't think so.
Is that still a group of men invading women's spaces? You want to boil it down, that's a group of trans women, biological men, getting very angry that they cannot be in women's spaces. This is what y'all fought for. All the carefree women, all the, oh, it's fine, except trans people, yes. Trans queen slay, like that Drew Alfaro girl. This is what you wanted. And like, what is a girl? What is a girl? What is a girl? What is a woman? What does any of this ever mean if you're going to say they're all the same? It doesn't make sense. It's insane. And just in the terms of nuance, just to share a different perspective and a different side, there are and have been a lot of trans women who go unnoticed and unharmed in women's spas. All this hipper and holler, all the debates, all the protests typically happens when someone is not passing.
Exactly.
When someone is clearly a fully intact male, just dropping their drawers in front of the spa or causing a scene. It's typically these people riling everybody up, because there are examples of regular smuggler trans people being in women's spaces or male spaces which are not biologically assigned, but they get away with it.
I'm about to go to a spa today. As a trans woman, it's something I always feel so nervous about. I know I've had my gender reassignment surgery. There's gendered changing rooms. I just get like a bit nervous and anxious to get changed to be in a woman's only space.
Nobody would look twice at this person, let's be honest. I sure as hell wouldn't. I wouldn't take a look at this individual and say, gee, I wonder. No, and most of us wouldn't, right? Let's be realistic. Nope. Let's continue.
I've got my emotional support animal with me today as well. I've just got changed, which was an interesting experience. Now it's going pitter patter, pitter patter. This is the swimming costume and towel.
And again, I highlight that quick example just to show, I'm not trying to argue whether or not you can tell if they're a man or a woman. What I am saying is that it does exist where trans people are in these spaces and nothing's happening.
Exactly.
It's truly, over the last couple of years, we have seen this attention, we have seen this rise because people are abusing the system, abusing what being trans is, and just ruining it for everybody, honestly. Because again, trans people do exist. Like we can't just say they don't exist. They are out and about, and they have been. They've been living their life. They've been doing what they want to do, always have been. Of course, there's been issues all throughout history here and there, but it's been blowing up over the last couple of years because of why? The people taking advantage of the system, even with our own tax dollars, the army.
I'm a trans man in the United States military, and I am documenting my journey, basically being the channel that I didn't have going through all this. I had to fly out to Ohio. For those of you who don't know, I live in New Jersey. Long story short, if I get HOP surgery through the military, it's free.
Free. Military. Free.
Okay.
Our tax dollars. Free. Crazy. And again, it wasn't until people put all their business out there on TikTok, even to the smallest things, like, oh, here's how to upgrade a concert ticket for free, and they post it to TikTok, and all of a sudden you can't get your concert ticket upgraded. Like, people are exposing all the hacks and tricks to do on TikTok for clout or to share it, but forget that it's called a hack for a reason. You can't just share all the secrets. It's not a secret anymore. Now, you got these people gaming the system. I'm not saying this person did it for this reason, but there are people that exist that are going into the military just to get their surgery and then bouncing. This is why Trump has just scrapped everything, paused everything regarding trans people in the military. He just said enough is enough, put a pause on it. We need to review what is going on.
Okay, now this we can have a conversation about, okay? Years ago, I got into an argument online with Theron Mayer. Do you guys remember her? Theron Mayer was a very beautiful trans woman who was right-wing, on the Blair White side, Canadian, South African / Canadian. And Theron Meyer ended up getting involved with ContraPoints. It was a whole drama, whatever, it doesn't matter. But Theron Meyer was very against transgender soldiers in the military. And my point was, well, but they fight because she brought up like the Danish military or something, some military that she thought was a cream puff, pushover military. I said, right, but there are transgender soldiers in the Israeli military, in the IDF. And I don't think that anybody would accuse the IDF of being like a PC, you know, experimental military, if you will. And she didn't know what to say to that. I wish her channel was still around, because I wish I could dredge up those comments from years ago. But there is a conversation to be had about all this, and I think that part of the reason that this idea took off was because of Chelsea Manning. And I can understand that, but Chelsea Manning was an outlier. Not every transgender soldier is at risk for giving up national secrets to WikiLeaks or whomever. Okay, they're not all security risks. So I get it. You put down a blanket ban and say that's it, but I think that you end up screwing people who actually want to fight for this country, and there aren't enough of them, quite frankly. So let's continue.
These bad actors that ruin it for the rest of trans people that are really patriotic and love this country, want to protect this country, and mind their business. Because there are a lot of people who want to protect and serve our country, and just because they're trans, denying them of that, I don't know. I'm really on the fence with that one.
I'm on the fence too.
I really am.
Hi, my name's Cal, and I'm a trans service member in the Army. I am 4th generation Army. Through my dad's side of the family. I commissioned in May of 2023 from ROTC after 4 years, and I got to my unit in about October of 2023, and I've just deployed with this unit this past January over to Poland. And it's the honor of my lifetime to serve every day. I can wear the uniform. It is an honor, and that's being taken away from me right now.
A 4th generation, the Army's been in their family. You can tell this person's passionate about the United States. They love this country. They want to work for this country, and they're not being allowed to because they're trans. I think there's some room for conversation to be had about
with
scenarios
this.
like this. Because it's not like all trans people hate America and want to secretly see the demise of it. Because no, there's plenty. You can just look on TikTok, you can look on the internet. There's a plethora of straight men who identify as a Democrat, who are in the Army, who hate America, who are like incels, who want to see America crumble, and they document and they talk about it all the time. So that exists. So I'm not in this camp that says all trans people are bad for the military. No, I have room for maybe no combat, sure, but everything else, I don't quite get it. I keep thinking about.
Well, we went through this whole business years ago, back in the 90s, when that one girl applied to the Citadel, Shannon Faulkner, I believe her name was, and she just wasn't good enough. She couldn't pass the physical part of it. She washed out, but she opened the door to allow other women to be admitted to the Citadel, and people in South Carolina were like, oh my God, my heritage. Oh my God, my tradition. Oh my God, my fill in the blank. You know how the South is big on heritage and tradition, right? And we love that about the South, but it's also a little cringy, let's be honest. Well, fast forward to 2024, 2025, and look at who one of the most outspoken members of Congress is, Nancy Mace, who's a Citadel graduate. So clearly there were women who were capable of making it through the program. Not being crybabies, not asking for special rights, not asking for special accommodations. And there's Nancy Mace. And all I can say is I wouldn't want to fuck with her. That's the bottom line.
About how most of us getting removed, working cyber intel or essential personnel, this ban is crippling our force. Where is the logic? That I can get behind. I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to have a trans intel or trans chef, trans cyber security. Maybe the intel, maybe the combat, maybe no trans surgery is allowed, but to strip someone who wants to serve and protect our country just because they're trans seems like a silly move. They're already facing a decline as it is. We should be seeing and promoting anybody who wants to fight for this country, anybody who's willing to put their life on the line, anybody who's willing to say yes, intel.
And by the way, give me a break with the fucking military, all right? When the military was not hitting recruitment goals during the Iraq War, they opened the door and accepted people who were felons. They accepted people who were members of gangs. they really ratcheted down the standards that they had held previously and put a lot of people at risk within the unit because they were openly accepting criminals into the military. So, I mean, if you can make accommodations for those people, the transgender thing, I'm sorry, this is just not a hill I want to die on. No way.
Chef, cook, combat, whatever it may be. Maybe not combat for the trans people, but I'm just saying in general, if you have someone willing to be that patriotic and fight for our country, we should give a little nuance and maybe figure out what we should do with them and allow them to do so. But in that same breath, I understand just saying, hey, shut it down so we can understand and pinpoint where people gain in the system, who's just getting surgeries and dipping, what do we need to do with the trans people because we've had enough. And I get it. I can understand that. Going forward, we have to be vocal and call things out for what they are, but as always, with empathy and logic in hand. As much as we don't get the empathy from some people, it works to just be nice, come with the receipts, come with the facts, and come with an honest intent. That always works best in a discussion, whether it be with your friends, loved ones, collegiate pupils, classmates, working, like it doesn't matter. That seems to always work in situations when you're talking to somebody who disagrees with you. I feel like a majority of the people watching this video don't all of a sudden just hate trans people. No. We just identify that there are some key differences with biological women, and that's why you see this on the rise between the gyms, the spas, the sports, the army. Trans women are getting barred left and right for this very reason. Because again, I can't stress this enough. If the left wants to keep saying men can be women and women can be men, right, that makes us equal and it makes everything just null and void. What is the point of anything? If you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. And it's honestly just getting to a weird point in our society where we're standing up and defending trans women so much that we're constantly pushing biological women off to the side. And the two we have seen cannot coexist in certain situations.
Correct.
We can't keep shoving aside and pushing biological women into the shadows. I'm a gay man. I want nothing to do with biological women. Love y'all. Love the support. I'm just talking about sexually. It ain't for me. I've had my fair share of the kitty cat. I don't want no more. We can coexist together, and I will always fight to protect you. I'll fight to protect a lot of people. What I'm fighting for here is common sense. What I'm fighting for here is to urge you guys to be vocal with respect and just share your opinion and let it be known. It says, hey, I don't agree with this. Because majority of the girls that are like, oh my gosh, yes, trans people, like accept them, love them, whatever. I bet you their freshman year of college, if they just put the most frattest frat boy and said, oh, hey, they're like, imagine like a co-ed dorm, male and females, but like everybody's rooming together. It doesn't matter. You're a first year freshman in college, you're a girl, you got your room all pink, and then in comes your roommate, the dirtiest, stinkiest frat boy. Plot twist, oh, I identify as a girl. I just went to room with the girl, so I just identify as a girl. We've been through that before. That's actually happening. This isn't even a joke anymore. There are some universities where you can just say, I'm a girl, I identify as a girl, then boom, you get roomed with a girl. That's lunacy.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't see how it makes sense to anybody else. Am I alone? Do y'all agree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Please let me know your thoughts, because this is just, it's become too much. But needless to say, this is why trans women are being barred from everywhere, and there's all this beef with biological women. So, like I said before, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinion. What are your thoughts on all this trans stuff, trans women versus biological women? Especially like that gym situation. Do you think it's fine? Do y'all think, if you're a woman below, let me know in the comments, do you think it's fine to have a women's only space? And if you're someone that thinks that is transphobic or someone that doesn't agree with anything that I said, let me know in the comments. We're all respectful here. We're all loving. We're all caring. Let me know what you're thinking about. And as always, if you like this content, please like it, share it, and subscribe. Helps the channel grow a ton. I am more than thankful for the support of this channel. Thankful for the growth. Thankful for all you guys being here. I can't wait to meet a lot of you guys soon. You guys get to hear from me a lot more. Crazy, tons. I'm just so excited. There's so much. I say this at the end of every video now. I'm hyping you guys up. There's a lot that will be coming within the next few months. So keep your eyes peeled on everything too soon to be dropped. And as always, no matter what you're going on in whatever, no matter what's going on in your life, it is called going through it for a reason. You're not stuck there. You're going to survive. Work on you and only you. If you're still watching this video, this message is for you. Do what you got to do to become the best version of yourself. With empathy, with grace, with dignity, with integrity, most important, with love. Do that. Focus on you and only you, and you will achieve your goals and dreams. As someone who's been from hell and back, I'm here to tell you, you can and will be your wildest dream. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching today's video. I will catch you very soon in the next one. Deuces.
Please do subscribe to Amir Odom. I think he's terrific. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't always agree with his point of view, but it doesn't matter. I appreciate the fact that as a young gay man, that he is sounding like the sort of grizzled members of the gay community who have been raising this alarm for quite some time. I like seeing young gay people who haven't been co-opted by this trend. And I appreciate him because his voice is important. And we need people like him out there, people who are unafraid to say exactly what they think and stand for what they stand for and not apologize to anyone. Why should he? So there's that. Now I have, he's buddies with Brett Cooper. And you saw that the Daily Wire is in big trouble right now. Did you see that? That they're firing a bunch of people. It looks like whatever financial plan they had in place is not working. We may still see the Daily Wire version of Snow White. It is still in production. They haven't pulled the plug on it yet, as far as we can tell. And I think that seeing Brett Cooper as Snow White would be very amusing and very interesting because she looks like Snow White, doesn't she? She looks like the picture that we have in our minds of Snow White. Yeah, it does. Have I what? Hi, Straubs. Oh my God. Straubs. Listen. We need to talk. Okay? We need to talk. And there was a crisis where phone, let's say, contacts were erased and not recoverable, and we did not know how to get in touch with you. This is not the royal we, okay? But I know that we would love to speak to you. So, you can email me, you can email Negz, you can email either of us, you can reach out and let us know your contact information because we have been dying to talk to you. So it is really, really good to see you. Thank you so much for popping in here and saying hello. You've been sorely missed. I wanted to let you guys know, this is very funny, okay? This is amusing. Crochetter and a friend in Vienna went to see Snow White, and they were the only two people in the theater. And Crochetter has thoughts. It's in the description box, Straubs. Okay, it's in the description box. Please reach out. Thank you. Okay. Crochetter. I'm going to bring Crochetter on. I'm going to bring him on my channel because Crochetter has fantastic observations about Snow White that are not, I mean, he has the same complaints as everyone else, but he has the kinds of critiques that you have when you have been a professional working in the business for X number of years, right? But one of the things that he has pointed out repeatedly in the conversations that we've had about this movie is he, along with many other critics, absolutely cannot figure out where Disney spent the money on this movie. It is, what can I say? It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Sorry, I was trying to get the words out. So, no, he did not like the movie. He thought that all the acting was terrible. Now, I'm not going to give too much away because I want Crochetter to have his say. But he said that the movie was a disaster. His critiques were terrific, and he pointed out some things that I have not heard other critics say. I mean, at this point, it's just like a dog pile, with everybody repeating the same criticisms over and over and over again. It's become a bit of a bore, which is why I'm not watching any more negative reviews of Snow White. But I'm going to ask him nicely to please come on my channel so that we can all have a conversation about this movie. And he said to me, well, I have a feeling that you will end up seeing it, whether you like it or not. And I said, well, perhaps, you know, when it's on streaming, sure, I'll give it a watch. But as far as, well, I can't drive right now. That's impossible. But as far as going to the theater, and I don't think it's going to be in the theater for that much longer, given how it's a giant flop, I'll wait for it to come out on streaming. And no, I will not buy a Disney Plus subscription. Absolutely not. I want to see it somewhere, but if I have to wait, I'll wait, and that's cool. But I thought that his insight was really, really good. So, you know what's funny about what you just said, Beth, is that he pointed out that the scene in the trailer that the Daily Wire did, or maybe it was, I don't know, it was maybe some sort of other promotional film that they released for their version of Snow White, is that her interaction with the animals was so lovely, and that they use real animals in the Daily Wire version of Snow White, but in the Disney one they don't. And he is astonished at how bad the CGI is. I mean, it's, you know, the usual complaints, but ultimately it's a question of where the hell did the money get spent in this movie. It wasn't on the costumes. It wasn't on the wigs or the makeup or the set design or anything like that. And so where did the money go? And one could ask the same about so many other Disney projects where the budget was wildly overinflated, and then you get this crappy end product and you're like, okay, well, I don't get it. So thank you so much, Straubs. Thank you, my love. I appreciate you. All right, you guys, I am a little bit creaky right now for the reasons I stated at the beginning of the stream. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to take care of myself because I am hurting. I'm hurting. I'm in pain, you guys. So again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you so much. I want to thank No Name for her incredible generosity, as usual. And I want to thank everybody for being so supportive of No Name, whose only crime is to participate in chats and be very, very generous with creators that she's fond of. That is her only crime. And just because some people are hateful pocket watchers and like to stir the pot and like to sabotage other people's channels and use viewers as a way to try to undermine other creators, it's gross. Just leave people alone, all right? I don't pocket watch other channels. Don't do it to me. I mean, do it to me if you want to. There's nothing I can do about it. But just leave these freaking viewers out of it. It is grossly unfair, and it's very cruel, and there's no reason to try and intimidate viewers who are just hanging around to have a good time and a nice conversation. Right? So anyway, I am leaving right now. And I will talk to you guys later. I'll see when I can get Crochetter on. I have surgery next week on my ankle to repair my shattered foot. The rib I can't do anything about. I'm just going to have to wait for it to heal on its own. But kind of sucks. Kind of hate it. But we press on. All right, you guys. Thanks again. And I will see you guys the next time. Bye.